listening to the Hurdy Gurdy Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Vacula, here to help you travel the world at next to no cost with credit card points, miles, benefits, and rewards. Make money, save money, and take advantage of great deals. Thanks for joining me for episode number 70, Scaling Up with guest JustinW. JustinW talks about his family travel and how the miles, points, credit, and deals game helps him make and save money. We met in person after chatting online, and JustinW scaled up his game following my suggestions. This episode will be the first in the Scaling Up series. Stay tuned for future episodes. Before today's discussion, a quick show note. I'll be hosting monthly meetups in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, with the group Greater Philadelphia Travel, Credit, Miles, and Points. Following a successful trial run in November of 2022, the first monthly meetup will occur on January 8th. Find more information at meetup.com/Philly Miles and Points. Find a link in the show notes. And here's today's episode with JustinW. All right, it's Justin to Justin today on the show here with JustinW. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And how did you find out about miles and points? What was the appeal to you?
Well, I could say that I've kind of always been somebody who's, kind of looking to game the system, whether it be the early days when the Wyndham match was wide open and I saw a path to Diamond via that. Yeah, so a path to Caesars Diamond by just simply opened the IHG Premier card. I was able to match that to Wyndham Diamond, and then I matched to Caesars Diamond and, the status match merry-go-round from there. So, like I said, gaming the system has always kind of been something that I've been interested in, saving money as well. I've been playing My Vegas since I think 2013.
Oh, nice. You beat me to the punch on that. The My Vegas games, that was the previous episode.
Yeah, so I've played those quite a bit. I've gotten thousands of dollars out of My Vegas.
Oh, auto spin to win for sure, or just like park in the lobby, right?
When I kind of heard about the Chase Sapphire Preferred was getting a lot of mention on Twitter, because I started to follow like yourself and then some other folks I know that are, into the miles and points, and I decided, I think it's probably worth me, looking into this card, and everyone was saying it's the highest sign-up bonus ever, and I said, well, let's get this card because I had, the ability. I didn't hold a lot of credit cards at the time, and it was something that you were encouraging me to get into, talking about your free travel and things like that. So I said, let's give it a shot. I try to be an open-minded person, and if it wasn't for me, it was something I could get out of. So I picked up the Chase Sapphire Preferred for myself at the 100K, and then I picked it up for my wife as well. And didn't really do much with that. We kind of met the spend through organic. We met the minimum spend required through organic spend, and we kind of had all these points. And I found a good deal to Cancun, and in my research I saw like Hyatt was always a good mention of Chase points because Hyatt has a fixed award calendar, and you can really derive a lot of value from that. So I found an all-inclusive, and an all-inclusive is something that I've never done before, so I figured, why don't we give this a shot? And so, I transferred 84,000 points to Hyatt, and I booked 4 nights at the Hyatt Ziva Cancun. After that stay, I was like, this is great. It was a fantastic trip. We paid, a small amount because I brought my 5-year-old daughter at the time, and, there's just a nominal rate that you have to pay per night. As opposed to paying with points, it's a much better deal to pay the cash rate. And I said, this is something I want to get into. I want to do more travel. I want to accumulate more points. And, I think that's where, you kind of constantly talking to me about the things you were doing with, I'll call it creative spend. I know that. So, I said, why don't I look into this? I had an open mind to getting, some new credit cards, and I had an open mind to, travel more, do different things, as opposed to Vegas and Atlantic City, which were kind of frequent travel spots of ours.
Yeah, we'll get into that later in the episode. And just to note, so the 84,000 points with Chase, if you were to have cashed them out for cash back, that would have been about $1,000. But you were able to get 4 nights at this hotel, so it was about $250 a night versus the cash rates would maybe be like $1,000 a night or even more in some cases.
600-700, which is still a good value. Yeah, some of the higher end, like all-inclusive adult resorts, you can definitely easily find those cash rates, but still a great deal compared to the cash out rate, as you said.
Yeah, we're able to unlock travel in a very easy manner. Like for your first cards, you said you had organic spend. So can you talk about what that process was like and what some of that spend was to reach the minimum spend requirement?
It was just pretty easy, like normal spending, going to, the store, buying things on there. Costco was definitely a huge one because we're a big Costco family. And, Costco only accepts Visa in store. So it was, pretty easy to put our monthly spend from Costco. Amongst just other things, I don't know if I have any particular examples off the top of my head. Just, like I said, normal everyday spend.
Yeah, so it was about 4,000 spend in 3 months, so maybe around 1,300 or so a month. I think pretty reasonable goal for most people, or maybe some people had bigger expenses like auto repair, some dental work, all kinds of things that people use to hit those sign-up bonuses.
Yeah, like you said, 1,300 a month was, that was easy spend for us. We were doing that, on a regular basis, so it wasn't like we had to do anything really out of our normal routine except just be using a different card.
Yeah, you're not going out buying designer clothing or plasma TVs or whatever random expensive item that we might think of, right? It's just like your everyday spend putting on the card.
Exactly.
Yes, and how was that shift? So some people, I just use cash to pay for things. I'm just going to use my debit card or like this credit card I've had for 10 years that gives me next to nothing on purchases. You shifted the spend to a new card. How was that process?
It was fairly easy. A lot of, I don't have a lot of automatic payments set up just because I ran into an issue a number of years ago with Spirit Airlines. And they tracked down a card that I had canceled after 6 months, and they were able to push a charge through for their membership. And this is way back when I was very ignorant and decided to sign up for their I don't know, there's some subscription service where you sign up for and get cheaper deals. And I forgot to cancel it, so that's one thing why I don't necessarily like doing automatic payments to, just things like that. That doesn't mean I don't like automatic payments for credit cards. But, so, it's something that I'm always entering a credit card, to buy things. So it's easy enough. And Amazon, you just add it to your default card on there.
Yeah, so just shifting your spend a little bit, using a different card, it doesn't seem like a Herculean effort. Some people are like, it sounds like so much effort to sign up for a card and use a new card.
Yeah, it's really not much work at all. A lot of the sites, like I said, like Amazon, you just add a card on there, set it as your default card, and you don't have to even think about it from then on. Like, it'll automatically charge that card.
Yeah, and the payoff pretty big. If you're getting 100,000 points, that's easily worth more than $1,000 just for shifting that spend and signing up for a new card. A little bit of organization, a little bit of logging into your accounts once a week to check things. Pretty easy game there at a very base level, I think. Yeah,
for sure.
And we met March 2021 in Atlantic City, if that date's right. And we were talking about, hey, there are more ways you can do this stuff. You can scale up. You can get more cards. And you don't only have to rely on the organic spend, the day-to-day, like so-called everyday spend, right? So you've leveled up since 2021, and now it's like a year and a half later, maybe more.
Yeah, we met at Atlantic City at the Harrah's Laurel Lounge when it was operating out of the Waterfront Buffet, rest in peace. But yeah, when you and I were waiting in line for a while, because unfortunately there was quite a wait to get in there, you were talking about all these things you were doing, and it was, but things that I really had no concept of, you talking about, going out and doing all this creative spending. And it wasn't that I was necessarily unopposed to it at the time. It was just something that it took me about a full year actually to get into the creative spending once I got back from that Cancun trip in March. And I knew that, like a whole year later, that this is something I wanted to do. And it's actually it's been less than 9 months since I've really got into the game.
Yeah, and maybe just starting with one particular play or one particular deal where like, okay, I do some reselling on eBay and okay, well maybe, hey, this PlayStation 5 is back in stock. It's a high demand item. You could buy it for X price, sell it and make something, now the market's down, but you can make something on it. And that's getting your credit card spend. You're selling the item, you're making a profit, and you're getting progress toward a welcome offer. So yeah, I don't expect anyone to, move like $10,000 in items a month just starting out. But it's like, here's an opportunity to do something. And this is like one tactic. And maybe it's not for everybody, but here's like one example of things to do as people find many different ways to spend without breaking the bank and without just buying all this useless stuff.
Exactly. I think that's, kind of a key point is like, don't overspend yourself. Like if you're somebody who's a compulsive spender, it's like, should you have a credit card anyways? Probably not.
Yeah,
so like that's definitely something that you and I don't recommend to people. If you see yourself going out and buying all these things that you don't necessarily need to meet these bonuses, then we would say it shouldn't be in this game.
Well, here's a creative deal. This is a dead deal. We could talk about this one. It was a while back with public brokerage account where there was this tool called PayPal Key that you can upload your credit card to PayPal, and it gives it a new number as a MasterCard debit for some reason. So we were able to fund, or at least I was and some other people, you could tell us if you did that as well. We were able to fund the brokerage with $5,000 using a credit card. So it was like, okay, well, I can invest basically using my lines of credit and then just pull the money out at a later time. And here's $5,000 to spend. So right there, that's working toward a high spend goal, like Personal World of Hyatt cards spend $15,000 in a calendar year. You get the free night certificate. So it's like, oh, wow, we already got a third of the way there with very little risk, just investing in the market, something that we'd probably just do anyway.
Yeah, first off, rest in peace, PayPal Key. I was actually never fortunate enough to get it. For whatever reason, it just wouldn't work for me. I signed up for the PayPal like debit card, which I saw some data points online that said this, might be the key to get it. And unfortunately, I never got it. But, PayPal Key's dead now. But yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned the free night credit with the World of Hyatt card, because I recently realized that it's a calendar year card. It's a calendar year thing rather than a card member year, which is kind of unfortunate because Chase, has some card member year bonuses as opposed to Amex, which is basically all calendar year. So it's kind of like, Chase, why did you flip-flop on that particular one? But, it's something to know going forward.
Yeah, just noting that in some of our notes, and we'll get a little bit more into organization later. And that's like at a more advanced level, right? It's like, oh, I have all of these different cards, so I'm keeping track of these benefits, this little thing, that little thing. And how was it scaling up for you? So you signed up for maybe one card, and I'm going to sign up my wife for another one, and you're doing it today. I think it was just a few days you messaged me and said, hey, I just got a new Chase Ink card, and I hit the min spend in just under a month. So it's been a lot easier to hit those spend goals.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, scaling up. It was definitely slower at first where I wasn't doing that much. But it was also like, the earlier quarters of the year where retail was not necessarily the strongest. So there maybe wasn't a lot of creative ways to, to spend. But, if you look at the past couple months, it's been pretty crazy. And, I'm scaling faster than ever. And the card I actually reached the min spend on was the Amex Biz Hilton. And I actually hit the 15K for the double free nights because they had a promotion where if you signed up for it and spent 10K in 6 months, you would get a free night certificate as opposed to the, in addition to the normal benefit with that card where if you spend 15K in a year, you get a free night certificate. So I was able to double dip that in a month. Like nice. I never thought I was going to hit that type of level, but as I said, with the retail being so strong in Q4, like there was just a lot of ways to creatively spend that.
Yeah, certainly lots of gift card deals in previous weeks and deals with Target as you shop already at Target by yourself and seeing a lot of gift card deals, a lot of opportunities at Target. You've definitely gotten a lot of spend with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing to point out is that I'm, Minneapolis based and there are not much there's no Kroger's near, there's no Publix. There's no Mayor. There's one Staples now. They just closed the other one. So there's not a lot of outlets to do gift cards locally except Target. So when Target runs these deals, I hammer them because they don't come by very often.
Yeah, unfortunately, no giant grocery store in your area either, because that's one of my local things. Is a few weeks ago, they had a promotion on the Game On gift cards. So this was giving 5x points on purchases of Game On gift cards that can be used for sports betting and casino sites. So this has been really, really tremendous because we were already into gambling, both of us, before Miles and Points, looking for advantage plays, looking for ways to save, looking for ways to travel, and seeing gambling and credit come together is amazing.
Yeah, definitely when I, travel out to, states that have legalized sports betting and I'm planning on placing some action, I will try to get some MasterCard gift cards so I can use those to load up.
Yeah, absolutely. So if Staples is running, say, a 5 times points promotion, a fee-free promotion on MasterCard gift cards, and you're getting 5 times points with the Chasing Cash, for instance, it's, I can use the Chasing Cash to buy these gift cards off a supply store and then use these prepaid cards online for the sports betting, for the casino, even playing blackjack, playing basic strategy and giving up about 0.5% to the house. You're getting 5x on the acquisition. You're possibly getting some site bonuses. It's quite an amazing opportunity to be a Pennsylvanian at the moment.
I'm jealous. I can't say that I am able to really take advantage of that very much, just given that I haven't been out. I haven't been in a state that's had like full online casino gambling in a number of months.
Yeah, back to Atlantic City in the future, as you've been looking at Sun Country maybe and some other ways to get there from Minneapolis.
Yes, exactly.
And what are some other cards that you've picked up? You've mentioned some of the credit cards that you have. What are some others?
Yeah, so like I said, the CSPs, and then I did get the Amex Vanilla Platinum. That was kind of my second big card, and of course that's the kind of the big guy on the scene. And then from there, I picked up a couple inks, including one for my wife as well. And then I have both World of Hyatt cards because I was chasing globalists this year. I kind of got into it late, but when they came out with the World of Hyatt business promotion for the 2X Elite Nights in August, I realized that this was something I could pull off based on, how many stays I have left. Also with how much spend I could put on the cards to get the free night credit, to get the Elite Night credits.
Yeah, so for listeners, can you explain Globalist? That's the highest level of status with Hyatt?
Yeah, so Globalist status is like highly recognized at a lot of Hyatt properties, and like one of the biggest advantages to Globalist status versus other elite statuses is guaranteed benefits. You get guaranteed 4 p.m. checkout. You get guaranteed room upgrades if they're available. Unlike other hotel chains where they'll say subject to availability, there'll be rooms available, but you won't get upgraded. Like my recent Holiday Inn experience with my newly appointed Diamond status, where I mentioned, I see you have a suite available, and they said, yeah, you can't be upgraded to that.
Oh, that's IHG, right? Holiday Inn?
Yep, IHG, yep, exactly. So Hyatt doesn't really play games like that. You also get some other benefits, like as you reach milestones. Yeah, so you get like free night credits with like the 30-night milestone, the 40-night, you get some bonus points, and at 50-night you start getting these things called Suite Upgrade Awards, which this is also unique to Hyatt, where you can apply suite upgrades right at the time of booking. So if you want to book a room at the standard points or cash rate and there is a suite available, you can use these on a stay up to 7 days to upgrade you to a standard suite.
Yeah, this is all really nice. So it's enhancing the travel experience rather than people outside of the game who just aren't getting a lot of these benefits. Maybe they're just paying a cash rate, but we're able to not only use the points for stays at these nicer properties, and even some of like the mid-tier or lower tier ones, that's fine too. But we're also getting a lot of the benefits, the late checkout, the free breakfast, a lot of the upgrades, as you were saying. So it's really awesome. It's exclusive in some ways to Miles and Points, unless they're like legit business travelers who are just staying tons and tons of nights. Yeah,
it's like you said, it's really nice. Like the food credit's another one I didn't mention, and you said the free breakfast. But like some properties have like they'll just give you a daily food credit you can really use on anything, or they have the lounges, and I actually stayed at the Grand Manchester in San Diego earlier this year, and I ended up using the lounge for dinner and for breakfast because they had like a happy hour, and like the food was honestly so good there that I was like, I don't even need to go out and eat after this. Like, I'm full.
Oh, nice. So you saved money and you didn't even have to leave the property.
Exactly. And it was a super cool like lounge where you were on like near the top floor and you had a cool view over the San Diego Bay.
Yeah, nice. Because I guess if you went to a random restaurant across the street, you probably would have spent maybe like $20, $25 on yourself. And then with other people, that's obviously going to be a lot more there. So the status really comes into play.
Yeah, it was great. And then we had to stay in Denver just a couple months ago, and my parents were with and my children, and we all were able to eat the breakfast there at the hotel, and I think it was $22 for the breakfast buffet, and all 5 of us ate the buffet, and it was no charge.
Oh, nice. And the Amex Platinum you mentioned, what was the welcome offer you got on that, if you remember?
So, I'm actually, this is a sore subject. I actually only got the 125,000 offer. I think it was the 125,000 Resi referral offer, which.
Okay, it's still really good.
Yeah, but they had 151 that came out like a week later, and Amex refused to allow, which gave me that bonus. Still missing those 25,000 points, but I've definitely earned more than that. So it's one of those things where you just, the war on happiness, I think, as you constantly say.
The war on happiness for sure. Things that happen that aren't quite in our favor, but we can't really time the market and just sit and wait, and then maybe the 125 offer goes away and it's back down to 100K, and it's like, oh, now we missed the 125. So I'm generally in favor of just keeping clocks ticking and go for the high offers that look really good at the time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the mindset I had when I got into this whole thing with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, is everyone was saying this is the highest bonus that's ever been offered. And, they were even saying that it's going to be ending. And I was like, why don't I just pick this up? It's probably not going to ever get higher. And since then, it's never gotten higher. So I definitely got in at the right time on that one.
Yeah, and the 125,000 MR, one could cash that out at 1 cent per point into a business checking account or use it for investing with Morgan Stanley or Schwab and easily get over 1,000 in value. But transferring for airlines, you're probably going to get a lot more value than that.
Exactly. Yeah, even I know that Delta gets a lot of hate here domestically, but, being a transfer partner of Amex, I've gotten thousands of dollars worth of flights in those points by transferring to Delta.
Yeah, and you're at a hub in Minneapolis too, right?
Exactly. Yep, it's a hub here, so Delta's kind of the main game in town. It's not going to be as good a value as those, international redemptions that a lot of people, really strive towards. But sometimes you need to book a flight and you don't want to pay the cash for it, so might as well just use points.
Yeah, and usually you're getting a little bit over 1 cent per point anyway with Delta. So yeah, if you have a domestic flight and it's like, oh, I checked all the other carriers and the rates are about the same, it's like, okay, well, I'll fly with Delta. And we've also both gotten Delta status through credit cards and credit card spend. Yep,
exactly. I think we'll touch on that a little bit later in the discussion.
All right, very good. Any other cards that you have that you haven't yet mentioned?
So I did mention that Amex Hilton Biz, but that's my latest. And then we can get into my other cards later on that I'm striving towards.
Okay, and what, you have about maybe 10 or 15 cards at the moment? Maybe more?
Between my wife and I, we probably have around 20.
Oh, nice. And can you talk a little bit about that, as some people in the space talk about it as a player 2 situation? Why sign her up for cards 2?
Yeah, so, it's basically like a second person, and, I run it by her, and, in some cases I actually end up, basically sending her the application. I'm saying, hey, can you just fill this out and send this in? Because, you can really accumulate a ton more points. With Chase's system, you can actually pool points, the ultimate rewards points, between households. So she actually ends up transferring all her points over to me because I have the Sapphire product in the household. Rewards like Amex, you can't really pool points, but, just the other day I did a booking with her points where I booked the flight for me because, that's an option, is you just send it to her account, for the transfer partner, and then you can book for somebody with that transfer partner.
Yeah, there are only so many cards we can get, and very often, in a short amount of time anyway, and very often we can't get the same sign-up bonus twice in a short amount of time. So having another person apply is allowing us to increase our earnings and get more cards, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say that I've gotten at least 60% more points because I've been able to utilize Player 2. Yeah, I don't utilize her as much as I utilize my own, just because, I don't want to bother her as much. But if we get into a situation where we need a lot of points, it's definitely something that, I'll run by her and say, hey, can you just sign up for this? And I basically do all the work from there on.
Yeah, or maybe some online orders, because certain deals would be like one per person. So being able to use her accounts to scale up certain deals or orders is always very good too.
Exactly, yeah. Like places like Target are picky on per account, so.
Yeah, the war on happiness, just canceling orders or like stealth cancel, or, even worse, like it would charge your card, but then it not goes through and then there's a refund like a week later. And I suppose it can be worse than that too, but I don't think we've taken major L's. So that's been it's been a good thing. There's of course a little bit of risk involved with trying to be creative, let's say, but I try not to be too egregious and like get shut down by everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got to be a little careful, especially with Citi.
Yeah. Like a while back, people were referring themselves to sign up for Amex cards and getting shut down because of that. It's like, it didn't seem so great. I don't like seeing anyone shut down, of course, but it's like, hopefully you can learn from the lesson when other people get in trouble for doing certain things.
Yeah, exactly. And, thankfully I have, you and, some other folks that I can really lean on regarding, hey, should I do this? And you can kind of help me with data points that you've heard and be like, be careful about that.
Yeah. Or like, maybe just get 2 orders or 3 orders, don't go too crazy with it.
Exactly.
All right, what are some of the other benefits of miles and points besides the hotel points, the airline miles, and cashback that we haven't mentioned?
Previously mentioned, I reached globalist status with Hyatt, which is really, the hotel status you want. You can, we discussed the benefits. I mean, thousands of dollars worth of benefits, more comfortable rooms. I'm getting, food on the property, and that's not only cost savings, it's time savings. Like I don't have to go out and, find some food. So it's like I can go right on property and, get that there. Additionally, like status with Delta. You and I both have platinum status with Delta, which is great because, we get comfort plus almost guaranteed, which is, a much more comfortable ride. You get the additional legroom. You get a cocktail or two if you're so inclined. And then, there's always those chances of first class upgrades, which are really nice because you get that, tons of legroom. And you get a meal in there. And yeah, so I think basically that's the main benefit is you're getting all this status, which makes you do things more comfortably. And, even if you don't have status, I'm flying to Europe twice in 2023 and I'm flying business class or premium economy, which is, way more comfortable than economy. And I'm doing that because I have the points to afford it.
Yeah, because people outside of the hobby, like the typical way is they're going to go to the airport and spend like $50 on beer in a restaurant and maybe some food. But hey, we're just going into the lounges. It's more comfortable. It's quiet. And I look forward to even getting to the airport super early to use the lounges. It's a really nice feature, I think, rather than making stuff at home. I could just be there early and then I don't get held up at security. I have extra time. It's some good peace of mind and then good food and drink for very low or no cost.
Yeah, it's nice to have that, like you said. And like the food's usually pretty good, especially the Centurion Lounges usually have very good offerings.
And one common question I get is people asking, how much time do you spend with this per week? Is it worth the effort? How many hours do you put into this thing? What would you have to say about that?
4 to 8 hours a week, and a lot of that's just done at home. Like it's if there are some local deals running, which like I said, if there's Target deals, I'm maybe spending more than that because it's time where I have to leave my house. But a majority of what I do, 75% of the spend I put through is done here at home, just right at my desk.
Yeah, and then it's a little bit of logging into accounts, making sure payments are made. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I utilize an app called Max Rewards, which can kind of help me with like due dates and stuff like that, just because sometimes your due dates can be all over the place, especially when you have a bunch of different cards. So it's nice to have that because then I don't have to log into all these separate accounts. But yeah, you definitely want to keep track of your accounts just in case something comes up, especially like if you're looking for an offer or something, particularly with Amex, like they throw their offers change all the time. So it's good to log into your cards and say, hey, what do I have for offers on here?
Yeah, just today as we're recording in December of 2022, it was $50 back on a purchase of $250 at Lowe's. And for me, that's super easy money because Lowe's sells a lot of gift cards and I could just go and get an Amazon gift card, for example, just to name one thing. And it's like, wow, I just spent $250 and got $50 back. Like that's super free money for me because I view that as very close to cash.
Yeah, and it's great if you have like actual organic spend. Like you're like, hey, I have to spend $150 at Oakley. Like I'm buying these new sunglasses.
Yeah.
Or something along that nature. It doesn't need to be something as nice as that. But like even the offer I just got to a place I don't regularly visit, but I could see how this could be utilized. Is I got $10 off a purchase of 40 or more at Walmart. I mean, there are tons of people that shop at Walmart, and it's like you're going to go there anyways. If you log into your account, find this offer, add it. That's an easy $20, I think it can be used up to 2 times.
It's like, wow, I just got $50 at Lowe's. I picked up a PS5 earlier that I'm going to make money on. I redeemed a $20 off grocery coupon because I spent $100 on gift cards like a week ago. And that wasn't really spending $100 either because that was like more Amazon opportunity like things. So it's like, wow, well, I just drove around for a little bit, had fun doing it, chatted with some friends on the road. I'm having fun with this as a side hustle or a hobby. Are you seeing it the same way as a side hustle supplementing your work income?
I work a corporate job. I need some motivation to get me through my work week and my work day. So if I go and book all these exotic, cool trips, it's definitely like, hey, this is great. Work is fine. Like, I'll be going to this cool place in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think a lot of people outside of the hobbies talk about, well, I take one vacation a year, or, oh, I got back from vacation and now I don't have any money, or even worse, they owe money, or, oh, well, I saved up all year for this thing and now there's nothing more in the checking account, or they're just paycheck to paycheck. They save up for the one vacation and then it's back to zero. But miles and points allows us to transcend that with the things that we do in this hobby. And I imagine a lot of the travels you would just pay for anyway. Like, oh, well, you want to go to Vegas, you want to go to AC. And if you weren't in miles and points, you'd probably just be paying cash money to take these flights and stay at the hotels as well.
Exactly. That's like what I used to do. I used to just search for the lowest cash fares and I'd book the basic economy tickets because I wanted to go there. So I was just being cheap. And now it's like I can travel there to a place I want to go and I can travel in luxury. I don't have to book these crappy flight times. Like, I can afford, or with status, I can change my flight if I wanted the day of.
Yeah, so it's nicer accommodations and it's saving the money at the same time. So I think of saving money in many ways as kind of like making money where, okay, well, I have all these grocery deals going on and I would have spent $20 for those groceries earlier, but I was able to not spend that $20. So for me, that's kind of like, well, if I was normally going to work at a job for like $30 an hour, well, wow, that was a really good payoff. That was a really good hourly rate on that particular.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, I'm probably going to take these trips anyways. So I guess, I am saving a lot of money by using points and miles.
And there has been some cash opportunity as well for checking accounts, for instance. Can you talk a little bit about checking account bonuses?
I mean, these are one of the easiest plays, and I've tried to pitch this for a few people. I just can't get anyone to bite on it.
Oh no!
Yeah, no. People are just so hesitant. It's so when it comes to people not wanting to change their credit cards, people do not want to change where their paycheck goes. That freaks them out. And I actually had a coworker / friend I was talking to. I was mentioning this $500 checking bonus, and I was like, we get paid monthly at my company, and I know for sure he makes at least the $5,000 minimum direct deposit required. It's like, dude, you change it for 1 month, put in that account, wait a couple months, use that account to pay out some things, let the balance get down, but don't drain it, and then wait for the bonus to come, and then, you can cancel that checking account. And meanwhile, after that first month where you direct deposit in, you can just go back and change it to your normal bank you like to use.
Yeah.
But he was like, we can change our bank accounts? And I was like, yeah, I mean, you can designate where you want your money to go. It's your money. It's just such an easy gain. I just actually had my wife sign up for the U.S. Bank one, I think like a month and a half ago, and we met it right away. So now we're just waiting for the bonus to post. But I think I've done 5 bonuses this year, which I know is a little light compared to some other folks. But Minnesota, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to have a ton of them. And I think there was actually a really good local branch earlier, and you were trying to encourage me to go and do it because you could actually fund it with credit cards, which is very rare. And you were encouraging me to do it, and I wasn't able to pull the trigger before they pulled the offer with credit card spending.
Oh, it expired. Warren, happy tricks again.
So I will say I was considering it. It wasn't like I was completely throwing the idea out. And looking back on it, I wish I definitely had done it because it would have been easy spend on a credit card. But it is what it is. You got to just move on.
Yeah, there'll be opportunities in the future, but the next time a deal like that comes, hit it early. Deploy the capital dollars, as was an infamous phrase from Atlantic City.
Yeah, exactly. It's not often that those local deals like that come around. So.
All right, and can you talk a little bit about Atlantic City? Why Atlantic City? You fly out to Atlantic City sometimes rather than going to Vegas or some other places.
Yeah, I get this question a lot. People are just blown away that I prefer Atlantic City over Vegas. It's seen as this dumpy, seedy place, and I spend most of my time in the casinos there, so I do understand that outside of the casinos that it's maybe not the nicest area, but, it's same with Vegas. I mean, Vegas has some seedy areas, but I'm not going and hanging out with them. I'm staying at the casinos. And I like AC a lot because I like the lounges and I like their recognition of status there. Like, status matters there. Those lounges, which I know you've talked in great detail about your love for the Amphora Lounge.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
I'll agree. The Amphora Lounge at Borgata is fantastic. It's got great food offerings. It's got a wide variety of spirits, including like very high-end spirits. It's not like they're giving you, the real vodkas, some cheap budget one. Like, you're getting very good drinks there. So it's fun to go there and just kind of just hang out at these lounges for gamblers that I'm able to get into because I did this status match years ago, and I'm able to keep it alive.
Yeah, and the M4 Lounge only $12.50 in comps, so getting the all-you-can-eat food, which is pretty high-quality food. It's not just some random buffet. Some people hate on lounges, but the quality there is really high. And yes, the drinks, if you were to buy a drink like that at one of the bars, I imagine that they're going to be charging like $15 to $20 per drink.
Yeah, you would spend so much more outside of there than you would in... I've gone to Atlantic City and actually never ate at a restaurant. I just utilized the lounges the whole time.
Yeah, and you've been able to get the comps in many different ways, right? Like you mentioned the My Vegas games earlier.
Yeah, I think almost all my comps have come courtesy of My Vegas because you get the $25 fine dining, and that's the entrance for two. And then if I do, my wife also has status, so if she does it, the same thing. She has entry for two, and we just kind of stack them up.
Yeah, and I've been a huge fan of the MGM MasterCard, so I'm getting comps based on my spend on that card. And 2x grocery multiplier, you can use it to fund BetMGM and Borgata online. So it's really easy to generate comps and use them for the lounge there rather than going around and going to these expensive restaurants and, I don't know, just spending money at other places. Like, okay, I'm already in the casino. I could just go there and what more do I want?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm very happy with going to the lounges there.
Yeah, and with Caesars, you've also used your celebration dinners there, correct?
Yeah, I've just been to Gordon Ramsay Steak. I think that's the one in Harrah's. I apologize, I get them confused. But yeah, we went there and we've actually hit 100 on the head twice, where it's been it was $99.78 or something. Just, it's so close. And my wife and I are able to split, an entree, get a couple appetizers, and you hit that amount right there, and it's free money. It's money that I would have never went in there and spent, and it was delicious food. So that appeases my my foodie wife after having to drag her to the lounges.
Oh, she doesn't have such a high opinion of the M4 Lounge?
Absolutely not.
Oh no.
No, but she's good about it. She'll go with me and hang out.
Yeah, and I would think even if one went in there for the drinks, even they're still getting really good value out of just going for the drinks, I imagine.
Yeah, she usually comes in there for a little bit and then leaves me and then goes and gambles while I just hang out there. I'm happy enough in there.
Yeah, and you're mostly playing video poker when you do gamble.
Yeah, video poker is really the one that I play these days. I kind of started out gambling in craps, but it's just too volatile for me. So I switched to something that's just a little bit more stable.
Yep, and the house edge, not very high, as there are some good pay tables in Atlantic City and other places, compared to, say, playing the slots where you're giving up 5 to 10% house edge.
Yeah, I mean, that's another appeal of Atlantic City for a video poker player is you can find really good video poker at lower denominations. Vegas is horrendous. They have awful video poker pay tables unless you're playing $25. I wouldn't even say a hand. That's just a credit. And to play if you want to truly maximize the expected value, you need to play 5 credits. So we're talking $125 a spin here.
Yeah, or if you're going off the strip, or I've found some decent pay tables at Planet Hollywood that I've played at when they had some tier credit multiplier days or other bonuses going on.
Yeah.
It can get pricey, but it was Borgata had the full pay video poker at one point. Is that still there? What's the status with that?
Yeah, they still have 9.6 on the floor in the smoking section, but they killed it off at the B bar, which was my favorite place to play.
Yeah, so what is that, $1, so $5 a spin on the video poker?
No, it was quarter.
Oh, very interesting, very interesting. But now it's the dollar, correct? Or is it still quarter?
I think it's $1, but I think it's 10 credits you have to bet to get the full royal payout. I think 5 only pays 800 or something, or 1,000 maybe.
War on Happiness strikes again. Yeah, and one dead deal I really liked that was creative spend was purchasing gift cards at Borgata. That you used to be able to go to the concierge desk with Mavis. Mavis was the worker there at the time who no longer works for Borgata. You'd use a credit card to buy a $500 Borgata gift card and then go to the Players Club and they would transfer that $500 to free play.
Yeah, I actually had my wife take advantage of that when she took a trip out to Atlantic City without me. I said, hey, you have the M Life MasterCard, like go here and do this. And, she did it. And that was the only time we've ever partake. But unfortunately got killed off, as you said.
Yeah, so you were getting 3x tier and comps, or MGM rewards now, on the MGM MasterCard, or you could just use that working toward a sign-up bonus. All right, and Las Vegas. What's the appeal of Vegas for you?
The appeal for Vegas for me, it's Vegas. It's the entertainment capital of the world. I love the pool scene there. There's just a lot going on outside of the casino scene. I know I mentioned my love for Atlantic City, but it can get, a little old if you're in the casino the whole time. And I'm not the biggest gambler these days. That risk-adverse nature is still something I just can't shake. So, I do get a little burnt out in the casino where I'm losing money and I'm like, well, this isn't any fun, But in Vegas, there's so much to do. It's like, yeah, I don't want to gamble. Let's go out to the pool. Let's go see a show. Let's, go out to eat. There's just, there's so many things to do. And the other thing that I really like about Vegas, and initially before I was into the points and miles, is Vegas is cheap to get to, especially from Minneapolis. They have like 6 nonstop flights a day, and it's almost always the cheapest place to fly Delta in the country, which blows my mind. Like even a place like Chicago is more expensive, and that's only 500 miles versus the 1,300 to Vegas. Yeah, and I can stack other deals too. We mentioned My Vegas. There's a couple of coupon books out there that you can use for gambling. So I see a lot of value there. So I can just travel there, quite a bit and do it pretty cheap, as opposed to, a lot of people, like you said, that just do one big vacation a year. They go and do a cruise, and they do this crazy cruise that they spend, $6,000 on, whereas I can go to Vegas, 4 times.
Can you talk about the comp cruises that you went on? You went on cruises not having to pay the crazy amounts, maybe just taxes, fees, gratuities, and that's about it.
I was able to do my first comp cruise back in January with MSC, courtesy of the Ocean Status Match.
Yep. More Atlantic City stuff, yeah.
Yeah, which I think you probably previously mentioned, the Ocean Status Match and how that can be accomplished. So we got a comped cruise for myself and my wife, and then we added my daughter, which I think was $300. And the total for all 3 of us was like $700 for taxes and fees and everything. Nice. And we got a balcony room, and this was January of 2021 or 2022. I apologize. And we ended up getting to our cruise ship, and there were only 600 passengers on a ship of 5,500. So we had the place to ourselves. Everywhere we went, there was almost nobody. And you're never going to get a cruise like that ever again. And like I said, I did it with Casino Status Match coming up here next month, and I'll get into more details on this later, but I'm doing a Carnival cruise, the Carnival Celebration, which is their newest ship. I got courtesy of the Carnival Fun Match, which is something you can just submit online, and all you have to do is just submit your casino loyalty cards, and they respond with an offer. And I did it for myself and my wife, who has some casino status, courtesy of matching as well. And we were able to get a room for myself and a room for my parents, which easily the cruise itself is probably upwards of $6,000 for both rooms. And we got that. I think we're paying around $1,200 for both rooms.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, even with some of the taxes and fees with cruise. I have the Altitude Reserve credit card with US Bank that I highly recommend. And with that, you can often offset certain travel charges. So they'll send you a text message, say, would you like to use your points for this purchase? And you could use your points to offset that. So that even works for cruises in some cases. When I did with Carnival, I believe, they offered a pay later plan. So it was no interest, no extra charges, nothing. Instead of paying it all up front, you could pay it 4 times split up. So I was able to use my Altitude Reserve points to offset some of the costs with that. And I think some other cards like Capital One Venture X or Venture might be able to offset some of those cruise costs as well.
Yeah, and if you don't have, a card with like travel credits or anything like that, I mean, it's also good organic spend you could put on a new card.
Yep, and often get the travel multiplier too, certain cards that are just bonusing travel spend.
Exactly.
So that's really good. As some people, I think, have gone the wrong way, where they say things like, oh, well, you need to play slots, you need to do this in order to get these statuses or benefits. And some people are aware that there's this extreme edge, but they're still doing it anyway and said, oh, well, maybe I would lose like $2,000, but I'd get these benefits. And we're saying, hey, there's another way, that you don't have to do it that way.
Yeah, and I think when you did your MSC cruise, I told you about the MSC status match where you can give them your status, and I think you even got some additional benefits for doing the status match with your comped MSC cruise.
Yeah, there was the steam room, there was the sauna area, there was the dinner at a specialty restaurant, and I believe there was a welcome gift, and I got the balcony.
Kind of you could really utilize like two different things on that one. Not only are you using the casino status match for the free cruise, but you're using the cruise line status match itself.
Yeah, lots of stacking, which is really great. And yeah, I wonder what would have been the actual cost for all of this stuff. As some people say, well, how much do you make? And it's difficult to quantify those things. It's like, well, if I went on a comp cruise, like, okay, maybe I would have paid $1,000 to do it, but it was cash rate that might have been, as you were saying, like several $1,000s. So does that count as like made money? Like, So it's why it's a difficult question to answer, because some of these things aren't so quantifiable, or we wouldn't have paid the money. Like if, for example, Popeye's chicken down the street were saying like, oh, we're going to debut this $2,000 fried chicken. And if they were to give it out for free for some reason, like, well, I wouldn't have paid $2,000 for it, and I don't even really want it anyway. So it's it's an interesting thing. But we're still winning at the end of the day, and it's certainly worth the effort.
Yeah.
All right, and what do you do to stay organized? As some people say, oh, it sounds like a lot to keep track of. Oh, it seems overwhelming.
I don't know if I necessarily have any organization things. I'm kind of just good like that, where I've put a lot of time into studying the cards I have, and I'm pretty good about tracking those myself. But if not, I usually consult Doctor of Credit or something if I'm like, hey, do I get that with this? And, just look online.
FrequentMiler.com, another great resource. I use Google Calendar a lot, and say if I have a monthly benefit, I just put it as a monthly event in Google Calendar, and then once I use it, I delete it for that month, and it pops up automatically next month as a repeating event. So in the morning, I'll just look at Google Calendar, not only for miles and points, but also for other things I want to do during the day. So I'll see all of that together and work down a list before the end of certain periods. And checking accounts. So obviously you're going to have to make these payments to your credit cards. How do you keep track of the different checking accounts and what's in?
I think I do the same thing that you kind of preach, and that's just checking all these accounts once a week. Just regularly checking. I'm also in finance, so money is something I'm pretty good with, and I usually have a pretty good number in my head of how much is in each checking account, so I know how much I should spend and how much I should apply a payment towards.
Yeah, because at a more advanced level with reselling that we do, it's a lot of different money moving around, different payments. So it gets a little bit more complicated. But as I say, start very small, scale up, see what's comfortable for you. And if you want to do more, add on more. And I say, too, there are a lot of people doing things that I don't. Some people are doing this as a full-time thing. And maybe like operating warehouses and having these like massive shipments going in and out and pallets coming in, and people are going like in store and looking for certain items to flip online. They're going to estate sales. Like there's always more that one could do. I'm not all in, but I'm still seeing it as a really good return for some of the time that I spend on it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, with the reselling and stuff we do, it's a little tough to keep track of some of that. Something called the float, where it's like we got money coming in, we spent money. It's a little tough, like from a cash flow perspective, and so it's definitely a little different. Something you should tread in lightly at first until you kind of get the hang of it.
Yeah, and we're getting the grace periods as well. So at worst, we have to pay back the credit cards in 31 days, 30 days, because say, okay, we purchased something on December 11th, the statement closes the next day. Okay, we get 30 days to pay off that statement balance, right? For just one example. All right, and coming towards the end here, addressing some of the critics. The main critic of Miles and Points, the leader of the War on Happiness, Dave Ramsey.
Somebody whom I didn't know about until I really got into this. But I will say that it's amazing how many people, you know in real life who, are just followers of his, because apparently his reach just knows no boundaries. It's people that I'll try talking to about like credit cards, like somebody I know who travels a ton because he's a semi-pro athlete, and like he travels all the time. And I was like, hey, have you thought about? I don't really like credit cards. I'm like, what? That's weird. And then he sent me a clip from Dave Ramsey, and I was like, this all makes so much sense now. It's just like you can't talk to people who are followers of his. They'll just disregard anything that you say. Credit cards are bad, and that's pretty much the end of it. And I've gotten to the point where if somebody mentions Dave Ramsey, I'm just like, oh boy, like this he's out there. Like, if you want to follow that nonsense as somebody who is seemingly a fiscally responsible person, then I guess you can, but I wouldn't encourage it, because you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. And he almost makes folks so risk adverse that they end up hurting themselves even more, because they're not taking advantage of any of these opportunities, and they're not building credit. They're going to be getting worse interest rates on their houses, worse interest rates on, new car loans, as opposed to somebody like you and I who have 800 plus credit scores because we've just been opening cards, we've been paying them off, and that's what credit scores are built on, is, you're opening new stuff, you're utilizing that credit, but you're paying off that credit.
Yeah, there are some fluctuations in the scores for sure, but once things are paid off, then it rebounds to where it needs to be. So usually I'm in the high 700s, but this Q4 is really wild with all the spending, so it's going to dip down to probably like the 600s again, like it did last year. But it doesn't matter, because it bounces back. And like, look, I applied for multiple cards in December. I got approved for all of them. One of them is currently in pending, and it's like recommended for approval. That's what Barclays likes to say, right? You're recommended for approval. So yeah, it's like, look, it's not going to destroy your credit as long as you're responsible about stuff. But what was it? He tweeted the other day. You saw an interesting tweet from Dave Ramsey.
Your credit score doesn't matter.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
And it's like, have you ever tried to buy a house, buy a car? Like, your credit score matters a ton. Like, even potential employers check your credit.
Yeah.
Like
okay, yeah, you might not absolutely need it. You can probably try to, okay, well, I'll give cash at that hotel desk. I can use the debit card, but you're going to be missing out on so much in the process. If you can't handle credit, great. Okay, he can be good for you, but he's just not being honest about the whole situation when he's saying, a credit score is an I love debt score, and you need to go in debt and pay interest to get a credit score. It's just totally false information.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like he's hurting people that are fiscally responsible with maybe stuff they shouldn't be applying to their own situations. Like, he can help people that have, really bad credit and probably shouldn't be using credit cards. Like, some of his logic can be used, but for the people that are financially responsible, I don't think it makes sense to listen to him.
Yeah, it would be like playing video poker and holding every hand, discarding nothing, and then complaining about, video poker is a terrible game because I never win. It's like, well, maybe it wasn't the game, it was just your strategy. And that's how I think about Ramsey. Like, the strategy he's offering isn't a good one, and just like lamenting the whole system. All right, and finally, what are some trips that you have coming up?
Yeah, so I actually have a crazy busy year, and this is where the points have really all coming together, and I've used a ton of them. But I have a cruise next month, which I mentioned was courtesy of the Carnival Fun Match. And then in February, I'm going to Cabo, staying at the Hyatt Ziva, courtesy of Hyatt points, using Delta points for the flights. And then, using the Suite Upgrade Award, which is a globalist benefit, so I'll be staying in a suite with my family there. And I just actually picked up the white whale of Hilton Properties, the Waldorf Astoria Cabo, courtesy of Frequent Milers tweet that there was basically wide open availability for that property, and that is, arguably the nicest Hilton property in North America. I was able to use my free night credit from the Amex Hilton Biz card for a night at that property, which was retailing for $1,200.
Oh, wow. So that's a lot better than the Hilton Garden Inn.
In March, I'm going to Jamaica, staying at Hyatt All-Inclusive there with my family, flights courtesy of Delta, and then going to be using another Suite Upgrade Award there, which actually is a very nice-looking suite because it was, I think, formerly a Ritz-Carlton property. So they got some of those higher-end suites that, unfortunately, the Zivas aren't great on the Suite Upgrade Awards. If you really want to go down that rabbit hole of places to use those for globalists. There's a whole list of properties. But and then later in March, I'm going to Vegas, getting back there. Going to be using my Delta Companion cert with a buddy that we were able to find a decent cash rate because, March can just be crazy out there. We're going for the second week of March Madness. And our last night there, we're actually going to use my other Hilton free night certificate for Croxford's on Friday night, which is retailing for $500. And it looks like a very nice property that I would have never stayed there if I didn't have this free night credit.
Yeah, it's really life-changing stuff.
Yeah, and then I'll get the Hilton Gold benefits as well. I'm only a lowly Gold, but I'll get the daily food credit and maybe a room upgrade if I'm lucky enough.
Yeah, I guess in a post-Chase and business card world, then eventually you start getting into some of the personal cards. And
yeah, no, definitely Hilton Aspire. I know you may not say that, but way down the line, I could see Hilton Aspire being a card for me. And then in July, I'm doing a very big trip. I studied abroad in London for about a month in college, and I absolutely loved it. And I've been wanting to get back, but as we know, prices to get over to London are not cheap. But I was able to put my points forward, and we're actually, myself, my wife, and my 6-year-old daughter are going to be flying Virgin Upper Class, which is their business, from New York to London. And then we're going to be staying in London, staying in IHG a couple nights, and then we're actually staying at a super nice Hyatt Regency for a few nights using a Suite Upgrade Award, which has a balcony. So we're going to be, checking out London, and then we're going to be taking the train down to Paris, where we're going to stay a few nights. And I haven't totally secured where we're staying in Paris. Europe is a tricky points game with people with over 3 occupants. They just kind of have some fire codes that make it really tough. I'm actually working with my globalist concierge, which is a benefit you get for reaching a 60-night milestone with Hyatt. And I'm going to see if she can work any magic to try to get us a place to stay in like central Paris. But yeah, like I said, for right now, I don't have anything. I guess if worse comes to it, we'll probably do like an Airbnb, which is something I've never been wild about. But as I said, I've been looking, and I just can't find anything good for 3 people. Oh, and then on the way home, we're going to be flying Air France Premium Economy. And it was actually cheaper than economy when we booked it. And it was funny because our flight to London was retailing for $2,700, and our flight home from Paris was the same price. And that's business versus premium economy, which I found very interesting. But I'm thinking it's because it's going directly to Minneapolis from Paris as opposed to out of New York.
How do you think this would be different if you weren't in miles and points? Would you be maybe traveling once a year, not at all, or only the domestic?
I think it'd be the domestic. I don't think I'd be doing these all-inclusives. I definitely couldn't see me doing really much international, let alone business international travel. But I'd probably just stick to the places I'd gone to, or maybe like you said, domestic. I really couldn't see me paying the cash fares to go international, like even to a place like Mexico, where I probably wouldn't want to be spending money for an all-inclusive either. I'm doing a second European trip in 2023. We're going to be flying to Amsterdam. We're going to be flying Premium Comfort directly from Minneapolis to Amsterdam, which is really nice that I was able to find that. It was a super, super cheap rate. It was 45,000 miles, and Amex was doing a 25% transfer bonus to Flying Blue, so that nets the total down even more. And then on the way home, we really wanted to fly business, and I was able to find a really good deal to Toronto. So we're going to be flying business home from Amsterdam to Toronto, and then just flying home from Toronto. But yeah, we're staying at the Hyatt Regency there for 4 nights on points with already a globalist confirmed suite upgrade.
All right, very good. Anything else to add? It was a very quick hour. We were planning 45 minutes, but we got even more than that.
Like the question you just asked, how would my travel differ? And it'd definitely be less frequency. It'd be less comfort, and it'd be less like exotic places, like places you maybe only dreamed of. Like you're like, I don't know how I'm ever going to make it there. I don't see myself having, $4,000 for a plane ticket. Mm-hmm. But with miles and points, you're able to make it happen, and you're able to make it very comfortably. Like we're going to be in lie flat seats for a few of those trips.
All right. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, and this is a great discussion.
Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for future episodes. Visit hurdygurdytravel.com to contact me, Find me on social media, read episode transcripts, and schedule a free consultation. Support the show through Subscribestar, referral links, and buying from my eBay store. Find the show on many podcast platforms and YouTube, where you can find bonus videos. Supporting me on Subscribestar will give you special perks, including a custom podcast episode, questions answered by upcoming guests, and monthly private one-on-one discussions, delving into more advanced topics I don't openly discuss at length on podcast episodes. Visit meetup.com/Philly Miles and Points to learn about Greater Philadelphia travel, credit miles and points meetups I'll be hosting in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, starting January of 2023. I hope to see you in person at a future event. Find a link in the show notes. Listen to my other podcast, the Stoic Solutions Podcast, found at stoicsolutionspodcast.com. My podcast guests and I offer practical wisdom for everyday life, inspired by the ancient tradition of Stoic philosophy from Greece and Rome. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.